At midnight, the attic's single bare bulb cast long shadows against the aged wooden beams as Emma, Mia, Zoe, Lily, and Ava settled onto tattered mattresses and scattered pillows strewn across the creaking floor. Emma's eyes flicked toward the cracked window as thunder rumbled outside. Mia whispered, "Did you hear that?" Lily tightened her pastel blanket, voice trembling. It sounded like footsteps. Zoe forced a laugh, heart pounding, masking the tremor in her voice. Ava's gaze drifted to the antique mirror propped against the wall. In its ornate frame she saw movement, something darker than her own reflection. The air grew thick and damp, as if the storm's cold breath seeped in through the floorboards. Emma said, "Let's tell a ghost story," but her words caught in her throat when the mirror's surface rippled. Lightning flared, illuminating peeling paint and swirling dust motes in the pale glow. Each heartbeat thudded like a drum as the girls exchanged terrified glances. Shadows pooled in the corners, and a low creak echoed from the far rafters. Mia gasped, hand clenching Zoe's arm. The mirror's reflection seemed to twist, forming a slender silhouette just beyond their circle. No one dared to blink. Emma lunged toward the attic wall, fingertips grazing the rusted switch just as the bare bulb sputtered and died, plunging the room into pitch-black silence. Mia's sharp inhale cracked through the darkness, and Zoe pressed herself against the cracked window, clutching her flashlight as its weak beam fractured against peeling paint and hanging cobwebs. Lily's breath puffed in ragged bursts as Ava hissed, "We need to get out of here," voice low and urgent. The 5 girls huddled, blankets wrapped tight, forming a trembling circle under unseen eyes. A distant scrape sounded, wood shifting overhead, then a hollow moan that vibrated through the floorboards. Emma steadied her voice, "Quiet." Lightning lanced through the broken pane, freezing a dark shape slithering along the rafters before vanishing into shadow. Zoe's hand shook on the flashlight trigger as she whispered, "Something's up there." Thunder rattled the attic door, slamming it shut of its own accord. The girls exchanged terror-laced glances, hearts drumming like war drums, knowing there was nowhere left to hide. Emma crouched at the far corner, fingertips tracing the warped edges of a loose floorboard. As she whispered, "This wasn't here before." Zoe knelt beside her, voice taut, "Lift it." Together they heaved the board free in a chorus of creaks, revealing a narrow trapdoor framed by rot-eaten beams. A musty scent of earth and decay seeped upward as Maya's flashlight beam skated down a steep ladder carved into gloom. Lily's voice cracked, "It leads below." Ava's jaw clenched, breath puffing in cold air. "We have to see." Emma steadied her friend's hand and descended first. Each creaking rung echoed like a solemn heartbeat. Below, the beam revealed damp stone walls slick with moss and tangled roots draping from low arches, while shattered glass and tarnished trinkets glittered underfoot. Zoe paused at the lip, voice hushed. "It's like a tomb." Emma reached to steady her before the trapdoor slammed shut above with a thunderous thud, snuffing out moonlight. In the ensuing blackness, only dripping water and ragged breaths marked their presence in the ancient void. Under Lily's wavering flashlight beam, Zoe spotted shallow carvings etched into the damp stone wall, twisted runes bleeding crimson in the pooled light. She traced each mark with trembling fingertip as she murmured, "These look like warnings." Emma stepped closer, voice urgent, "What do they say?" Mia adjusted the beam to reveal the word, "Leave," scrawled in jagged letters beneath a half-broken sigil. Zoe's voice quivered, "It's telling us to go back." Ava's breath hitched as she scanned the tunnel ahead, knotted roots curled from the ceiling like skeletal fingers. Emma squared her shoulders, voice firm, "We can't stop now." A distant rumble vibrated through the floor, sending droplets scattering like rain. Lily gasped as a fresh carving bloomed above them in ghostly phosphorescence, depth feeds. Zoe's pulse thundered as she whispered, "It's alive." The carving's glow pulsed in time with their racing hearts. They exchanged wide-eyed glances, understanding the path behind them had vanished. Only darkness lay before. Pressing deeper into the passage, Emma led with a trembling beam as Mia stumbled over a brittle bone fragment that clattered across the stone floor. "Bones!" Zoe gasped, voice shaky. Lily swallowed, whispering, "Human." Ava froze as a soft voice drifted. "Emma, Mia, Zoe," each name a faint echo in the air. Emma held up a silent hand. "Stay still." The flashlight hovered over a narrow alcove, where a pale hand, skin and bone mottled, jutted from the wall. A hollow groan rippled through the tunnel, and the hand twitched. Mia cried out as Lily yanked her backward. Zoe's beam rolled on the floor, casting frantic shadows across damp walls. Emma snatched it up and swept the light upward, revealing the half-emerged form of a girl in tattered nightclothes, eyes milky and empty. Ava's breath caught. "It's her." The apparition raised a bony finger toward them as the tunnel darkened, their panicked breaths swallowed by silence. As the girls huddled before the antique mirror, its cracked surface began to shimmer with an unnatural iridescence. Emma's pulse thundered in her ears as she slid closer, voice barely above a whisper. "It's alive!" Lightning outside cast a brief glare, and in that flash the slender silhouette pressed its palm against the glass from within. Mia recoiled, blanket slipping from her shoulders, eyes wide. Zoe said, "We should run," but her voice trembled, betraying her fear. Lily crept forward, hand outstretched, and gasped when frost bloomed on the frame, as though the figure's cold breath seeped outward. Ava's reflection twisted, mouth working soundlessly as if screaming, and the girls jumped back when the bulb overhead flickered violently. A low keening exhaled through the rafters, and Emma gripped Mia's arm, knuckles pale. "Don't look away," she murmured, though every instinct screamed to escape. The mirror quivered, dark veins crawling through the glass, and the Addisit's temperature plummeted. Dust swirled in a sudden gust, carrying a faint, mournful lullaby that seemed to emanate from the mirror's depths. The girls stared, entranced and terrified, as something behind the glass beckoned them closer. Shaken by the mirror's ominous beckoning, the girls stumbled backward until their backs met the attic door. Emma pressed her ear to the warped wood. Beyond, silence. Zoe said, "It's stopped." But a soft thump echoed overhead, and the rafters groaned like a wounded beast. Lily scooted toward the only other light source, a flickering oil lantern on a dusty crate, and it sputtered, casting long shadows that danced across the floorboard. Ava lit a second candle and held it aloft. Its feeble flame revealed old trunks lined against the far wall, heavy with iron clasps. Emma whispered, "There's something in those chests." With trembling fingers, Zoe unlatched the nearest one. As the lid creaked open, a cold wind burst forth, extinguishing both candles and plunging them into thick darkness. A ragged breath sounded from within the trunk, and Mia's gasp froze mid-exhale. "Don't," she urged, but curiosity outran caution. Lily fumbled her phone to life. Its screen glowed weakly, revealing tangled lengths of antique doll's hair coiled atop an old journal bound in leather. The girls exchanged horrified glances as the trunk's contents shifted. The journal's leather cover creaked as Zoe pried it open. Its pages were yellowed and etched with spidery handwriting. Emma shone her phone's light over the first entry. "I saw her at midnight." A sudden shuffle from above sent the girls into a panicked cluster. Mia stifled a scream, clutching Lily's wrist. Emma read aloud, voice quavering, "She watches through broken glass, longing to cross." A distant drip echoed, water leaking through the roof. Ava pointed as droplets fell onto the open journal, black ink bleeding into twisted symbols. Zoe said, "We need to close it," but Emma lingered over the next line, which simply read, "Do not look behind you." The instant those words left her lips, the lantern atop the crate was flung aside by an unseen force, smashing against the wall. Flames flared and died, plunging them into suffocating black. Then from the darkness behind them, a slow, deliberate footstep clicked on the dusty floorboards. Lily's voice trembled, "It's here." The girls scrambled for the attic door, but the knob spun freely, unlocked, yet stubbornly refusing to open. Trapped and trembling, the girls formed a circle as the attic doors rattled, though no wind stirred outside. Zoe pounded on the wood, breath catching. "Let us out." A sudden thud behind them made all five whirl in unison. Mia's flashlight spun wildly, beam slicing through gloom to reveal an antique doll propped on a chest, its porcelain face cracked and eyes unnaturally glossy. Lily whispered, "Not that doll." The doll's head tilted, and it began to rock forward, hinges creaking like a broken lullaby. Ava shrieked as the boards beneath them groaned. The ceiling above the mirror unfurled a long, sinewy tendril of black mist that slithered toward them. Emma grabbed Mia, pulling her away, but the mist reached past, curling around Zoe's ankles like a living shadow. Zoe yelped, trying to kick free, and the mist recoiled as though stung. Lily yelled, "We must destroy it." Emma nodded, eyes locked on the mirror where the silhouette beckoned once more. Thunder cracked, and lightning framed their terrified faces, determination flickering in their eyes. Emma's heart pounded as she sprinted toward the mirror with a broken wooden plank raised like a weapon. Mia and Lily followed, Zoe and Ava trailing as the attic quaked beneath them. The silhouette's form shimmered behind the glass, now more human-shaped, eyes glowing like embers. Emma shouted, "Together!" and slammed the plank against the frame. The wood splintered, but the glass held firm, rippling outward in a wave. Ava grabbed a rusty nail from the crate and jabbed at the nearest shard. Sparks of cold fire erupted where metal met glass. The mirror groaned, veins of darkness pulsing through it. Lily chanted, voice rising, "Be gone." The attic lights flickered, and the silhouette recoiled, mouth opening in a silent scream. Thunder rattled the rafters, and the broken plank shattered, raining splinters onto the girl's feet. Emma fell back, breathless, as Mia wrapped her arms around her, eyes brimming with tears. A final volley of lightning struck the roof, and a deafening crack echoed through the attic. Everything went white, then dark. Emma's eyelids fluttered open to the cold crunch of gravel beneath her palms, heart pounding like a funeral drum. The world around her was draped in shadow, moonlight slanting through the shattered roof of what looked like an endless moss-clad corridor. Mia groaned and pushed herself upright. Lily's hand found hers, knuckles white with fear. Zoe whispered, "This isn't the attic," voice quivering. Ava rose unsteadily, eyes drawn to walls blackened by age and traced with whispering violet veins. Emma steadied her breath and said, "We stay together." But the air thickened, heavy with damp and something older, anger. A hollow rasp echoed down the passage. "They belong to me." Zoe's lips parted. "Did you hear that?" Lily pressed against the cold stone, gaze fixed on a rusted iron door ahead. Mia muttered, "It's locked," voice breaking. The corridor's pulse quickened as echoing drips marked time. Emma's grip on Lily tightened. "We have no choice," she said, and together they shuffled toward the iron hinges, every step a testament to their trembling resolve. The girls pressed palms to the iron door, its surface slick with condensation. Emma's voice was steel. "Count to 3. They braced and heaved, wood groaned, metal screeched, and finally the door inched open onto a circular chamber, lit by a single flickering lantern perched atop a stone pedestal. Shadows danced on crumbling frescoes of weeping angels, their eyes carved from obsidian. Mia stepped inside, breath fogging the air, and spotted footprints in the moss, too small, as if someone had walked here barefoot. Lily whispered, "Someone's been waiting." Zoe scanned the room. Tattered prayer scarves hung from rusted hooks, each embroidered with names they didn't recognize. Ava stooped to read a phrase scrawled in dried blood on the pedestal's base. "I carry your sins." Emma swallowed hard, voice barely audible. "We need to leave, but where?" A distant rasp answered, "No escape." The lantern flickered out, plunging them into deep black as their frantic whispers merged into a single terrified plea. In the suffocating gloom, Zoe's flashlight flickered to life, revealing a semicircle of dusty tomes stacked on a broken altar. Emma crouched, reading spidery entries, midnight ritual to bind the watcher. Mia gasped, voice trembling. They knew about the mirror. A distant drip forced Lily to spin. A thin stream of crimson trickled from a crack in the ceiling, pooling beneath an overturned chalice. Ava whispered, "Blood offering." Zoe's lips parted as she uncovered a leather-bound diary bearing familiar scrawl. Her own. She froze, pages splayed at a passage she never wrote. Tonight I'll watch them tremble. Emma's breath hitched. Zoe? Eyes wide, Zoe shook her head, voice barely a rasp. I don't remember this. Lily's hand flew to her mouth. A low chuckle wound through the chamber, and the diary snapped shut of its own accord. The girls stumbled back as embers flickered on the altar, letters carved in ash spelling out betrayer. Betrayal crackled through the air like electricity. Zoe's voice trembled as she backed away. I didn't mean to. Emma's eyes burned with disbelief. You let us hear. Mia sobbed, voice cracking. Why? Lily's gaze darted to the diary, then to Zoe's shaking hands. Ava pressed forward, voice low and fierce. You performed the ritual. Zoe's shoulders slumped. She confessed in a whisper. I thought it was a game, just a dare. The chamber's frescoes seemed to weep with them as the lantern guttered. A soft moan rippled from the walls, and the violet veins pulsed with life. Emma said, voice hollow. You unleashed it. Zoe fell to her knees, tears streaking dirt-smeared cheeks. I am sorry. The floor trembled as a hidden panel slid open, revealing a coil of black mist. The girls stared as it seeped forth, drawn to Zoe like a wolf to scent. The mist swirled around Zoe, drawing close as her tears fell like rain. Emma lunged, voice raw. Stay away! But the mist obeyed Zoe's silent plea, wrapping her in obsidian tendrils. Mia reached out, voice quavering. We can help you. But Zoe's gaze glazed over, lips parting in a hollow croon. Lily choked on a sob. She's not here anymore. The walls pulsed brighter as the entity's power crescendoed. Ava grabbed Emma's arm. We have to break the cycle. Emma nodded, raising the broken plank from Act 2, heart hammering. Zoe's body stiffened. The mist receded, revealing eyes that burned with an alien fire. A deafening crack echoed as the iron door slammed shut. Emma said, It ends now, and swung the plank with all her strength. The blow rang out like thunder, and the diary's pages burst into flame, sending shards of ash swirling. In the flash, Zoe's scream echoed, and the chamber fell silent. But Emma knew the true battle had only just begun. A smothering hush hung over the ashen corridor as the girls emerged, blinking into a cavernous hall coated in white-gray soot. Emma's breath caught and she spun, voice trembling. Zoe? Her words cracked like ice. Mia's knees buckled as she swept the floor with frantic eyes, whispering, She was right here. Lily clutched her chest, skin prickling with dread. Ava pressed her hand against the cold stone wall, knuckles whitening, and said, There's no sign of her. Zoe's absence echoed like a betrayal. Emma's voice hardened. We stick together. But her trembling fingers gave away the fear beneath her steel resolve. The hall's vaulted ceiling loomed overhead, dripping condensation that hissed on the blackened floor. Each footstep sent clouds of ash swirling around their ankles, obscuring the deeper shadows. A distant scraping sound, metal on stone, made Lily gasp and drop to her hands. Mia murmured, Something moved. Emma steeled herself, eyes flashing in the dim lantern glow, and led them forward, every heartbeat thudding like a warning drum, as if the very walls sought to swallow them whole. Footprints scored through the ash like bleeding veins, leading the girls toward a heavy iron door half buried in rubble. Emma crouched, tracing the small bare footprints with a gloved finger, voice low. It's hers, Sue. Mia swallowed, voice shaking. She followed us here. Lily's eyes darted between the prints and the sealed door, whispering, How did she open it? Zoe's absence loomed in the icy air. Ava placed a trembling hand on Emma's shoulder. We have to keep going. Emma nodded, her jaw set, and pressed her back into the wall to push the door. It groaned, struggling against centuries of neglect, until a narrow crack yawned open. A gust of frigid air rushed past, carrying a faint, hollow lullaby. Zoe's name drifted on the notes, and Mia flinched. That song. Emma squared her shoulders. We won't leave her. Together they forced the door wider, the footfalls fading behind them as they stepped into the next abyss. The door swung inward onto a decrepit nursery, where moonlight filtered through broken shutter slats. In the center, Zoe sat bound to a weathered rocking chair, porcelain doll hair entwined around her wrists, eyes glazed and distant. Lily's gasp echoed, "Zoe!" Emma lunged forward, voice breaking, "We're here!" Mia's phone beam trembled as it swept across chipped pastel decals and rusted crib frames. Ava knelt beside Zoe, voice pleading, "Wake up, please." Zoe's lips parted in a slow, hollow croon. "They can't leave. Not again." The girls recoiled as the rocker creaked, moving of its own accord, sending Zoe forward in a jarring motion. Emma's hand hovered over Zoe's cheek. "You have to fight it." A distant drip sounded as a doll's head toppled from a shelf, its glassy eyes skittering across the floor. Lily whispered, voice raw, "Shez, not herself." The nursery's sweet scent had curdled into something acrid, and Emma steeled her resolve. "We save her, no matter what." Emma gripped the splintered plank, voice fierce, "We're getting you out." Mia and Lily pried the hair from the chair's arms as Zoe's head lolled, murmuring, "They won't let me go." Ava knelt, undoing the knots. Suddenly Zoe's body snapped upright, eyes glowing ember red, and she snarled, "Stay back!" The plank clattered to the floor as Emma staggered. Lily cried, "Zoe, it's us." But her words struck empty air. Zoe's limbs jerked with unnatural force as black mist billowed from her mouth in a whispering hiss. Emma reached out trembling, "Fight it, remember us." Zoe's breath hissed and the mist formed twisted shapes of the mirror's silhouette. Mia shielded Lily, sobbing, "This isn't my friend." Ava grabbed Zoe's shoulders, voice cracking, "I know you're in there." Zoe's scream fractured the air like breaking glass, and the mist recoiled into her chest, leaving her gasping. Emma clasped her hand, eyes brimming, "We won't abandon you." With Emma's hand clasped in hers, Zoe's trembling voice pierced the haze. "Help me, please." Emma pressed her forehead against Zoe's, voice choked. "We're here. I've got you." Lily and Mia heaved as Ava lifted the last coil of doll hair from Zoe's wrists. The mist shrieked, swirling into a shard of broken mirror on the floor. Emma snatched it up and held it aloft. Its fractured surface reflected the girls in splintered fragments. Zoe's eyes cleared, tears pooling. "I'm sorry." The shard vibrated, emitting a low hum that resonated through the walls. Emma said, "We end this together." She drove the mirror shard into the ground. The mist writhed and collapsed inward, vanishing with a final echoing sigh. Zoe collapsed into Emma's arms, sobbing with relief and shame. The nursery fell silent as the shard's glow faded, but beyond the hallway, the faintest scrape of footsteps approached. Mia whispered, "We're not alone." Emma's lungs burned as she and the others stumbled back through the moonlit attic doorway, shard clutched in her trembling hand. Mia pressed her back against the warped doorframe, whispering, "It's finally over." Zoe brushed a strand of damp hair from her forehead and murmured, "We sealed it, right?" Lily's gaze drifted to the shattered mirror fragments scattered on the floor. She knelt to touch one, voice aching. "What if another lies waiting?" Ava shushed her gently, voice soft as moth wings. "We won't let it find us." The single bare bulb overhead flickered, casting their elongated shadows against the rafters. Emma took a shaky breath, voice firm. "Let's leave this place behind." As the wind rattled the cracked window pane, the girls exchanged uncertain glances, relief laced with doubt, before gathering their courage to descend the attic ladder into the night's uncertain safety. The ladder groaned beneath their weight as they descended into the house's silent corridors, still damp with storm seepage. Mia's phone light bobbed ahead, illuminating peeling wallpaper and water-stained floorboards. Emma paused at the foot of the stairs, voice taut. "We need to get help." Zoe's lips pressed tight. "No one will believe us." Lily's voice quivered. "We barely escaped." Ava pressed a reassuring hand to Zoe's shoulder. "We stick together." In the parlor beneath them, an antique grandfather clock stood frozen at midnight. A distant drip echoed through the bowels of the house, too rhythmic to be rain. Emma swallowed hard, voice low. Something's still here. The girls exchanged determined looks, their breaths visible in the chill air, and moved as one toward the hallway where the darkness seemed to pulse around them. In the hallway's gloom, Zoe paused at a heavy oak door, etched with strange sigils. Emma frowned. We didn't see this before. Lily's fingers traced the symbols, breath catching. I've changed. Mia held her breath as Ava pressed her ear to the wood. Silence. Emma offered the shard. Maybe this will help. Zoe pressed it to one sigil. It glowed and the door swung inward on silent hinges. Inside lay a narrow spiral staircase carved into stone, spiraling downward. Lily swallowed. It leads deeper. Emma squared her shoulders, voice firm. We have to finish this. Mia flicked her light downward, revealing slick steps slick with moss. Zoe whispered, what if we can't stop it? Ava met her gaze. Then we fight together. The five grasped one another's hands and stepped into the darkness, hearts pounding in tandem. The spiral stairs descended into a subterranean chamber lined with carved alcoves, each holding a tarnished portrait of a child whose eyes seemed to follow the girls. Emma's voice quivered. These are the lost. Mia pressed her phone against the wall. The screen lit up ancient runes scrawled beneath each frame. Zoe read aloud, bound by sorrow, freed by courage. Lily winced as a distant whisper rose from the stone walls, a chorus of soft, pleading cries. Ava clasped her hands to her ears, voice trembling. Stop. Emma took a deliberate step forward. We're here to end your pain. The portraits flickered, and the room's single torch blazed to life, illuminating a mural of 5 figures shattering a dark mirror. Mia gasped. It's us. The air hummed, and the girls locked eyes, resolve hardening them against the lingering dread. At the chamber's center stood a broken obsidian mirror on a pedestal. Emma's voice was soft steel. This is the heart. Zoe stepped forward, shard in hand, voice steady. We finish it. Mia and Lily flanked them, hearts echoing in unison, while Ava began to chant the blood-soaked verses from the attic journal. As the final words left her lips, the mirror's fractured surface rippled with inky shadows. Zoe pressed her shard against the mirror's edge. A shockwave of light burst outward, illuminating every carved face in the alcoves, which smiled and released. The inky tendrils recoiled and vanished into the mirror's depths with a mournful sigh. Emma exhaled, voice breaking. It's done. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then the chamber door slammed shut behind them. Mia's voice quivered. Again. The girls shared a look of dawning horror. They were not alone. Stepping through the narrow archway, Emma felt her lungs sear as the door slammed home behind them, plunging them into a labyrinthine corridor lined with towering fractured mirrors. Torchlight danced across jagged surfaces that rippled like water, casting fractured reflections of the 5 girls that moved with uncanny autonomy. Emma's heartbeat thundered in her ears as sweat beaded at her temples. Each step echoed off the stone walls and mirrored shards, creating a disorienting chorus. Mia recoiled when her reflection elongated into a skeletal grin, and Lily's mirror double raised a cruel, beckoning hand. Ava pressed the cool steel of the mirror shard against her chest as Zoe, voice trembling but determined, whispered, They're feeding on our fear. The corridor stretched and warped, vanishing briefly behind shifting reflections. A low, resonant hum swelled from the glass, vibrating beneath their feet like a funeral dirge. Dust motes drifted in the pale glow, carrying the faint scent of rust and regret. Emma steadied her breath, jaw set, and held the shard aloft. We break them, she gasped, and together the girls lunged forward toward the nearest pane, their footsteps cracking like shattering glass. The first mirror splintered under the girls' combined strike, sending shards skittering across the floor like frightened insects. Emma pressed forward, heart hammering, as the remaining reflections recoiled, then lunged back with synchronized motion. Mia screamed as her double reached through the broken pane, tendrils of dark mist curling from its fingertips. Lily grabbed her arm, voice cracking. It's trying to pull us in. Zoe raised the shard high, and its pale glow cast long shadows that fractured and coalesced on the walls. Ava shouted, "Hold fast!" as they battered the second mirror. Each strike echoed like thunder, and the mist hissed in pain. The corridor warped around them, reflections rippling like oil slicks. Dust and shattered glass glittered in the torchlight, and Emma's reflection flickered between ally and adversary. The oppressive hum became a screaming crescendo, pressing at their minds. Emma met Zoe's eyes, voice steady. One more. They braced, breath synchronized, and charged the next reflection with desperate resolve. With 2 mirrors shattered, the girls raced down the corridor, blinded by flying glass and flickering torch flames. Lily tripped, sprawling into a pool of black liquid that hissed and writhed around her knees. Nia skidded to a halt, voice raw. "Lily!" Emma spun, yanking her friend to her feet as the liquid receded like wounded smoke. Zoe's reflection emerged intact ahead, stepping out of its pain with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. Ava cried, "It's copying us!" The corridor doors slammed shut behind them, trapping them in a narrowing tunnel of broken glass. Emma raised the shard, voice fierce, "We don't run!" Zoe stepped forward, confronting her doppelganger. The double's head tilted, whispering in Zoe's voice, "You belong here." Lily wrapped arms around Zoe's waist, voice quivering, "We're your real friend." The mirroring walls pulsed as the entity advanced. Emma planted her feet, heart roaring. "This ends now." Confrontation crackled like electricity as Zoe faced her dark double in the narrowing passage. "Oh!" Emma and Ava formed a protective plank, and shard raised. The double's hollow laugh reverberated off the mirrored walls. "You cannot break what I am." Nia lifted the lantern high, revealing violet veins crawling along every remaining mirror frame. Lily's eyes shone with fierce compassion as she stepped beside Zoe, voice quivering but resolute. "I believe in you." Zoe inhaled, memories of laughter and tears flooding her mind. "You're not me," she whispered. She thrust the glowing shard directly at her double's chest. The mirror figure shrieked, staggered, and the corridor's hum fractured into discordant tones. Shards of light exploded through the mirrors, and the walls groaned as reflections shattered inward. Emma and Ava backed Zoe up, striking the mirrors in unison, sending arcs of pale light cascading around them. The corridor quaked, and Zoe cried out, "Goodbye," as her double dissolved into shards of mist. Silence descended as the last mirror splintered into darkness. The corridor breathed, the humming ceased, and the girls stood amidst a carpet of fractured glass that glowed faintly with the shard's light. Emma's voice was a hushed exhale. "We did it." Nia knelt, touching a shard that shimmered like silver tears, and whispered, "Is it really over?" Lily scanned the walls. The violet veins had receded, leaving bare stone. Zoe sank against Emma, voice trembling, "I feel free." Ava extinguished the lantern, plunging them into pale torchlight and soft moonbeams filtering through a distant grate. Emma led them forward, each step echoing against the silent stone, until they reached a heavy iron door carved with a single unbroken sigil. "One last lock," Emma murmured. Zoe pressed the mirror shard into the carving. It clicked open, revealing a spiral staircase bathed in dawn's first light. The girls exchanged weary smiles as they descended, shadows of past horrors fading behind them. But Emma glanced back at the broken corridor, senses taut. They had survived, but the world beyond awaited its own reflection of fear. Emma stepped into the pale dawn light that filtered through the ancient arched doorway, her eyes blinking against the sudden brightness. Nia followed, voice trembling as she whispered, "We made it." Zoe's gaze darted across dew-laced grass, spread before them like a broken tapestry. Lily inhaled the crisp morning air, but her voice was hushed. "It feels too peaceful." Alva's hand brushed the mirror shard concealed in Emma's coat, its glow now faint. Emma exhaled, voice low, "We freed her." Nia smiled weakly, but her shoulders remained taut with dread. Zoe scanned the horizon where twisted silhouettes of the shattered corridor loomed behind them. Lily shivered, voice quiet. I thought the sun would burn it away. Ava steeled herself, voice steady. Evil clings to memories. Emma's eyes narrowed as a distant echo of children's laughter drifted on the breeze. Mia's hand flew to her throat, remembering the hush that followed. Zoe's lips parted. Did you hear that? Lily pointed as a lone tendril of shadow curled across the stone threshold. Ava exchanged a glance with Emma, and Emma said, "Stay close." Together they advanced, every step measured against the returning dawn, hearts still pounding with the promise of both hope and fear. Emma forced herself to smile as they crested the last hill and spotted Zoe's childhood home nestled among gnarled oaks. Mia hesitated at the gate, voice gentle. "It looks unchanged." Zoe nodded, but her brow furrowed as she studied the shuttered windows. Lily paused, noticing a cracked mirror leaning against the porch railing that they had not placed. Ava's hand rose to her mouth, whispering, "Who put this here?" Emma stepped forward, voice steady. "We moved it." Mia traced her finger along the ornate frame, voice soft. "The glass is intact." Zoe's pulse quickened as she peered inside through smudged glass. Familiar shadows danced on the walls. Lily swallowed, voice trembling. "It's like time froze." Ava's eyes rattled with fear. "And someone is waiting." Emma clenched the discarded plank at her side, voice low. "Stay back." A sudden creak from the porch floor sent Mia staggering. Zoe cried, "We're not alone." Lily backed away, voice quaver. "It's her." Ava exchanged a look with Emma, and Emma said, "We end this now." Emma raised the plank and tapped on the glass pane of the front door, voice firm. "Open." Mia held Zoe back, voice panicked. "This is a trap." The pane cracked under Emma's blow, splintering outward in shards that gleamed like broken teeth. Zoe stepped inside, phone beams slicing through dusty air to reveal a child's nursery painted in pastel nightmares. Lily's eyes filled with tears as she spotted Ava's doll swinging slowly from a rusted hook, its porcelain face intact and smiling. Ava gasped, voice caught, "I left that with her." Emma's heart lurched as the door slammed shut behind them with a final thunderous bang. Mia yelped, scrambling to the frame, but it held fast. Zoe's reflection shimmered in a tarnished brass mirror on the far wall, mouth curved in a mocking grin. Lily whispered, "It's not her face." Ava clutched her chest, voice cracking, "It's a mask." Emma steadied the shard at her side, voice grim, "Find it." Mia's phone scanned the room, dust-laden toys, overturned rocking cradle, and in the corner, a small silhouette that moved too swiftly. Zoe swallowed hard, voice steady, "We're right on schedule." From the corner, a childlike giggle echoed as a slender figure stepped from the shadows. Emma's skin crawled at the sight. The girl wore Zoe's face, but eyes as cold and vacant as broken glass. Zoe lunged forward, voice shaking. "Stop." Mia grabbed her arm, breathless. "That's not her." Lily and Ava flanked Emma, weapons raised, plank and mirror shard gleaming. The imposter tilted her head, voice lilting. "I've waited longer." Emma's heart hammered, voice raw. "You end here." The figure's lips peeled back in a twisted smile as ebony mist unfurled at her feet. Zoe's tears fell, voice cracking. "Let me through." The mist coiled around the imposter's ankles, drawing shape to her malevolent form. Lily's voice rang out, "You cannot take her again." The figure advanced, dull hair trailing across the floor like a sinister ribbon. "She belongs to me," it whispered. Emma charged, plank raised, and the shard in Ava's hand pulsed with pale light. Mia called, voice fierce, "Together." The girls struck in unison, thunderous and resolute, shattering the imposter into a burst of ash and whispering wind. Morning sun broke through the nursery shutters as the girls collapsed against the door, breaths ragged and limbs trembling. Emma slid the plank aside and pressed her palm to the cool metal of the lock, voice barely a whisper. "Let's go home." Mia offered Zoe a shaky smile, voice thick. "It's finally over." Lily leaned her head against Ava's shoulder, closing her eyes as relief washed over her. Zoe's gaze drifted to the cracked mirror shard, still clenched in her hand. Its surface flickered with a faint reflection. She tilted it, catching a glimpse of something behind her, dark curls that didn't match any of their own. Zoe spun, but the room was empty. A single heartbeat of silence stretched, broken only by the distant creak of the hallway floorboards. Emma exhaled, voice soft. "I guess some things never leave." And as the girls stepped into the pale dawn outside, the shard slipped from Zoe's grasp, clattering against the threshold, its reflection showing 5, not 4 silhouettes.